Ramez. Thanks so much for joining me today to talk about volunteer management, all the way here from Egypt. So thanks for being here.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting us.
Yes. Um, so Ramez, can you tell me a little bit about Helm, the organization that you co-founded, and your role there?
Sure. So basically, a hilm it's actually an Arabic word that translates to dream. It's an Egyptian social enterprise and a non-profit. We have two entities, and both share the same vision, which is working on the inclusion of persons with disabilities in all aspects of life and ensuring that no one is left behind.
Great. And what do you do day to day for the organization?
Okay, so basically, my title is I'm the co-founder and managing director of Helm Egypt, and I work on overseeing the operations department, which provides services to different institutions. So we work closely with governmental institutions and companies to help them become more accessible, to audit their locations based on international accessibility standards, to make sure they're hiring the correct quota based on the Egyptian disability law. Make sure also that the services are also accessible, and we always tend to convince them by saying that it's not just a good deed, it's also good business. So when you're more inclusive, you tend to have a bigger market share, you have a better reputation, and you also abide by the law.
Right.
Yeah.
I hear you have a lot of volunteers that help you at Helm. About how many volunteers?
Yeah, so we're almost 1,500 volunteers. And I think this is actually how we started at the beginning. We did not even have a single employee working at Helm for like a year. Yeah.
In this class, it's all about volunteer management and volunteer planning and recruitment and training. How do you plan for over 1,000 volunteers?
Yeah. So honestly, volunteering has always been a challenging topic, and a lot of organizations face issues with managing volunteers. It's hard to find someone or a group of people who are committed, especially when you work and you need to get a lot out of them. But I think if I would say just one thing that really helped out was the people believing in the purpose. So if it's obvious where this task, sometimes we give volunteers very small tasks, and then they don't know what this task will lead them to, or why are they doing that. So it's always about the why. I think when people know the purpose of this task, they tend to be more, their mind is more into it, they're eager to get it done, and they know which part of the puzzle they are completing. But to manage, at the beginning, we did not really have a system. We just had people believing in Helm, the dream, and believing definitely in us as people as well. But then we had to create like a system. We had to do like a volunteering form where people apply based on the time slots that they're available on. They apply based on their interests to make sure that they would be able to give in something they have experience in, and also something that they like. And then we have different departments in Helm, and they all have access to the volunteering results of the forms that they fill. We actually use Google Forms. It's not even a platform. So Google Forms, you can have access to the results, and then you know people who are available in this time slot doing specific tasks. But we also tend to tell employees to know how to communicate tasks to volunteers, and how to let them know that this task is leading them to a bigger objective or a bigger goal, and that's why we need help on it.
Right. How do you make sure that they are carrying your message and the message of Helm appropriately?
Well, it depends on the what exactly they're doing. But if we have like a big event, and then volunteers have a bigger role because they would be representing Helm, or maybe wearing a Helm badge, or they're like the image of Helm, then we tend to do orientation sessions. And we give them even trainings on how to deal with persons with disabilities. It's very serious with us, because if you come to represent Helm and then something happens and you're not well trained or well oriented, and now we're in the process of classifying volunteers, like having we do like a volunteers awards. We do giveaways for specific volunteers based on how much time they had given and the quality of their time.
That's great.
So, but this is not yet complete, but we're in the process of having a system of also awarding and rating volunteers. So if volunteers volunteering with a certain department, they need to rate the volunteer based on a specific criteria. So we would know, oh, he's someone to depend on, and he would have a better rating, therefore get a better award.
Oh, great. Have you, is there a process to fire volunteers as well if they maybe have a lower rating?
That's actually exactly why we did this rating process, because we had volunteers who did specific actions that we don't want them to do. But then what we do, and this is actually another thing that you always need to give feedback. So if someone volunteered, it doesn't matter how much time he has given, he's given his time or her time for free. So you need to give them feedback, either good feedback or bad feedback, doesn't matter, but they need to know if they did a good job or not. And this is why we have created this rating system. It's not just to award people, but also to people to know what they have done wrong. And this is good for the volunteer as well, because he would be able to know what things she or he needs to work on.
And my last question is, for the people in this class that are managing volunteers, do you have any last advice for them?
I'd just say always focus on get people on board. They need to understand why you're doing that, and because it's very difficult to ask people for their time for free. So they need to know why you're doing it, what's the purpose, and where will this make your organization head to.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.